Hi everyone. We are in episode 2 of season 2. Wow, we're already off to a good start this season, and I'm so excited to be featuring tonight one of my favorites, calamari, squid, octopus, anything with tentacles and anything of sea creatures I'm excited about. Tonight I'm going to make a fun appetizer that pairs a dilapidated squash. Here is the dilapidated squash, so it's one of the main ingredients that we're going to make, and we're going to pair calamari with the squash to make a combined appetizer for this fall. I'm super excited, so let me take you down to the array of ingredients. We have a sea creature, the squid, as you can see here, the squid rings, and so we'll get that started soon. I have an assortment of dry ingredients, so we have flour, we have baking powder, not baking soda, but baking powder, cornstarch, and salt. This is for the calamari when we go to combine the flour ingredients with the spices. So we have curry, we have dill, dried dill, black pepper, dried parsley flakes, and of course Hungarian paprika, and then garlic powder. I think it's important to use dry garlic powder as opposed to fresh for this spice mixture. For when we dredge our calamari rings in the spice mixture, it's important that it's as dry as possible because we're going to fry it. And the worst enemy for oil is water, so we want it as dry as possible. We also have a cup of milk. We have pine nuts that we're going to put over our squash. We have oil to brush the squash with. We have a fresh garden sage that I hand plucked. Well, I didn't hand pluck, I snipped it with a scissor, as you can see from the clean cut. And then garlic. We're going to do 2 cloves of garlic. So the squash, pine nuts, and the fresh ingredients, the sage and the garlic, but also balsamic vinegar is going to be for this part of the appetizer, so the roasted squash, and then we're going to brush it with oil, of course. And so we'll set that aside, and we're going to focus on the calamari. Let's go ahead and soak the calamari in a mixture of milk and salt. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the salt in here. And it doesn't matter if the salt goes in the milk or the salt goes in here to soak the calamari rings, or all combined. It just doesn't matter. But I'm just doing this for the sake of mixing it together. We're going to soak the calamari rings in the milk and salt mixture to tenderize it. Now, I've heard that milk tenderizes the calamari rings or mini meat products. I don't know, right? There's a bunch of debate on the internet about that. Calamari in itself is from a young squid, and so it should already be tender. I have done it in my Asian cuisine with just lemon and salt and mix it really well, and that'll help tame the fishy or squiddy smell. But the acid in the citrus, so the lemon or the lime or the orange, will actually tenderize it as well. Now, you have also heard that milk can tenderize meats. So it's used to tenderize chicken, especially buttermilk, and also for squid or octopus to tenderize it. But I believe that it is the calcium and the lactic acid in the milk that helps to break down tough muscle tissues. And so that's what I think, but it also helps to tame the fishy smell as well. So that's what we're going to do, is combine. And we're actually going to soak it for 30 minutes or so. And the calamari just is still cold, so I'm just going to leave it on the counter. You can put it in the refrigerator if you feel safer that way. It's completely up to you. If you're wondering what brand of calamari that I purchased, this one is Bosun or Bosun, I'm not sure, so somebody correct me. But anyways, this is a pound. So a bag of a pound of frozen calamari, and I just split that in half. And so my recipe, what I have here is half a pound of calamari rings. We're gonna let that soak for 30 minutes and we're gonna get working on our dilapidated yellowing squash, and it's gonna be delicious. What we'll wanna do is cut in wedges or segments the squash, and you can do it any way you'd like. But I think for the simplistic of this recipe, I'm just gonna use Thor's hammer. There's that, and then we'll want to take out the insides. Doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as there's no seeds in there. Okay. Right. And for this recipe, I'm going to do wedges. Make it easy. That finishes up our wedging with my favorite cooking utensil. Okay, so let's push that aside. We're going to bring over the baking pan. Clearly this has been used extensively, so we will just place the squash wedges here. I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees, and we'll take oil. So I don't have olive oil here. You can use olive oil, but really with all the flavoring that we're going to put in afterwards, it doesn't really need olive oil. Just brush it with oil. And then it's going to go and roast in the 400 degrees Fahrenheit oven for about 20 to 30 minutes. So you want to brown, almost caramelized, the squash wedges. Oh, it smells really, really good. And I'm going to do it on both sides. Okay, so and you can lay it down, you can stand it up. It's really up to you. I know some people say skin side down, but because this is not perfect in terms of balancing it and it's going to fall over, it really doesn't matter. Okay. Now that that's in the oven, it's going to cook for 20 to 30 minutes or so, and by that time, we are going to start dredging the calamari rings that's been soaking in the milk mixture, and then we're going to fry it up and we're going to serve it up, and it's going to be delicious. I can't wait. The squash has been roasting for a while now, and I think it is done, so I'm going to take it out of the oven and then stick it in the warming drawer. Ooh, perfect. So this is what they look like, and I'll just stick it in the warming drawer. I'll keep the oven on because after I make the sauce with the sage, the garlic, and also the pine nuts, then I'm going to stick it back in the oven for maybe 5 to 10 more minutes just to get the pine nuts all roasty. And so, but for now, we're going to come down to the counter and we're going to mix the dredge for the calamari rings. So we'll just pour everything, or we'll dump everything in here. And then you'll just take your whisk and just mix it really well. Just like that. Ooh, I can already smell the spices in here. It smells really good. That's pretty much it right there. What you'll need is a colander because after we dredge the calamari rings, we're going to want to put it in the colander so the excess flour can drop off. Calamari rings. Stick it in there, and then again it goes on the colander. Yeah. I want to shake off that excess flour dredge. We're almost done. And again, this is a half a pound of calamari rings. This one's a pretty big one, and I'm gonna eat it. I can't wait. For calamari rings, and of course the flour dredge, you don't want to cook it in high heat, cook it too fast, and you start burning it. So 350 degrees is it. And because these are already tender, you just need about 3 minutes of frying, and that's about it. This is what the rings look like in the colander, so it's ready to fry. So you want to make sure you have plenty of oil in there. It looks like I have about 1.5 inches of oil sitting on top of this deep fryer. That's okay for now because that's all the oil that I have in my pantry. So, but yeah, you'll want to make sure you have enough. So I would place about maybe 8 at a time. Ooh, ooh, exciting. I lost count. I don't know how many that was, but we'll just do one more. 3 minutes is all it takes. You can monitor it and maybe do 2 minutes and then flip it over and then do another minute or so, and it's practically done. The reason why you don't want to put too many in all at once is because you don't want that the flour and the dredge to clump up together. Here it is. It's floating around nicely. Ooh, ooh, that scared me. And that eruption there was because there was water or the milk. But look at that. That's beautiful. It's not quite yet done. One ingredient I forgot to show you was the butter. So we're going to do 4 tablespoons of butter in a frying pan. We're actually going to brown the butter, add the garlic. Oh, the oil is exploding. But we're going to brown the butter and then add the sage and the garlic, and then we're going to garnish it on top of the squash and stick it back in the oven for 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to serve it up with the calamari rings. I just can't wait. Stay tuned. Okay, my calamari rings are exploding, and it's about 3 minutes, so I'm going to take it out. Look at that. Ooh, isn't that beautiful? So we'll put them on a plate with paper towels lined. You don't want to overcook the calamari because it'll start to get really, really tough. So there are the calamari fried rings. Ta-da! Okay, while this is frying up, I'm just going to get to the butter mixture ready really quick. Ooh, this is getting dangerous. Okay, so luckily this is the last. There it is. Yikes, who would have known? Dangerous calamari rings. Oh my goodness. I want to peek in there, but I don't want to get injured. Okay, put the lid on for safety. The rings are done. Okay, I'm at the stove top here. I'm going to turn the heat on high for now just to get the butter melted. And then I'm going to go ahead and mince the garlic and cut up the sage. With the sage, we're going to cut it up not so fine, but just in little chunks like this, right? So that should be about enough for our squash, for the one squash that we cut up into wedges and roasted. And then I love this garlic mincer from Amazon. And you can just, and then do the same, mince, mince, mince. A lot or a little, up to you. The butter is bubbling. I'm going to go ahead and turn it down to medium high and monitor the heat. You can see it's already starting to brown. And this is going to be brown buttered squash. So roasted squash garnished with brown butter, sage, and garlic. Oh, I can smell the nuttiness of the butter. It smells really good. Now you can brown it really well, or you don't have to. You don't need to brown it if you don't want to, but you can really see the brown colors in the pan already. So I'm going to go ahead and add the garlic. And I'll mix. Ooh, wow, look at that. So it's already bubbling and it's even more brown, hence brown butter. Oh man, that smells good. I'll go ahead and turn off the heat, add my sage. This is about 1 tablespoon of sage. So now we have the squash, and the oven is still on 400. So I'm going to carefully arrange this. Like that, and we're just gonna carefully spoon the browned butter with sage and garlic over the squash, roasted squash. I may have added too much butter. This was 4 tablespoons of butter. I think you can do this with just 2 tablespoons, unless you really like it buttery, which I do, so I'm not complaining. Actually, 4 tablespoons is good, so keep it at 4 tablespoons. And you can see the brownness in the butter, so that is browned butter right there. Oh my goodness, this smells heavenly. Oh. All right, ooh, that is beautiful. And then cracked black peppers. You know, you don't have to stick this back in the oven. The squash is pretty much roasted, but I'm gonna stick it back in the oven, and then I'm gonna get the serving platter ready, and then we'll showcase it and eat it, and ooh, it's gonna be exciting. I'm back because I forgot to put the pine nuts over it to roast. So the pine nuts are good without roasting, but they are absolutely delicious roasted as well. So we're just gonna put it over there, and we're gonna stick it back in the oven for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for 5 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes have come and gone. Oh, I'm excited. Ooh, yummy. Look at that. Okay. So if you're a Marvel's fan where Captain America says Avengers Assemble, this is roasted squash and calamari assemble. So let's get right to it. Here is the garden sage, and if you're wondering, what am I going to do with this? Just keep it for decorations. So this is super hot. I'm going to use the tong and not Thor's hammer. So we're just going to carefully place this. Doesn't have to be mathematical, because you want it to look clumsy, imperfect, because it really plays into the deliciousness factor. So again, clumsy, imperfect, and then we're going to pile on our crispy calamari rings. Ooh, look how beautiful that is so far. I better just sample one. Oh my goodness, so yummy. The dill really does it wonders. It's no wonder dill pairs with seafood well. So I am going to dish up some of the pine nuts and sage and just sprinkle it on. Yummy. And let's not forget the balsamic vinegar. You're wondering, what is she going to do with that? Well, we're going to drizzle it on, and then we're going to eat all of it. Here we go, drizzle, drizzle. Ooh, look at that. Oh my gosh, that is exciting. And then your sage, you just pluck. And voila. Like that. Okay, now this is appetizer heaven. Ooh, look at that. Yummy. Mmm. Squash, acorn squash with toasted pine nuts, brown buttered with sage, and drizzle over the yumminess of the roasted squash. And then fried crispy calamari, and the dill just brings out the seafood fresh flavors. I'm going to sample a chubby calamari ring. Mmm. Beautiful, delicious flavors. Thank you for watching Paulina's Global Flavors. Enjoy this recipe. I'd love to hear from you. So if you do make it, when you do make it, please post pictures. Let me know how it goes. Enjoy, and we'll catch you on episode 3, which I have a zucchini here from a friend's garden. So I'm going to make egg rolls with shredded zucchini and lots of other yummy ingredients. So stay tuned for episode 3. It's coming soon.